It's Waste and Recycling Bin Collection Day. The whole street has put out their bins. And today the council will come along and take all the rubbish away for us. Isn't that great?
Oh no!
Wait a minute. You there. Why are you looking so sad? Aren't you happy to be so full of rubbish on this lovely sunny day?
Oh no! I'm too full. I feel sick. I wish some people would stop and think before they throw everything inside me. Just because they put rubbish in the bin, it doesn't mean that it disappears and it's no longer a problem.
No wonder our poor bin feels ill. Australians are one of the largest generators of waste in the world, and much of that waste comes from our homes. The average Australian family makes enough waste to fill up a 3-bedroom house every year. How did we get in such a mess? Let's travel back in time and see how this all started. In nature, nothing is wasted. Everything is a resource going around in cycles to be used again and again, and for thousands of years, Australia was free of rubbish. Indigenous Australians made very little waste. Their waste was mostly bones and shells, which they placed in an area called a midden. Their waste was natural and would mostly break down and compost back into the earth. In the 18th century, there was very little packaging and most waste was considered a resource. But the 19th century ended with what is known as the Industrial Revolution, and manufactured goods of all kinds became available. These days, everything we buy comes wrapped in layers of packaging made from various materials: steel, aluminium, glass, plastic, and paper and cardboard. These materials will ultimately become our waste, which must go somewhere. Here in Australia and in our region, it ends up in a landfill where we bury our waste in the ground. Landfills take up a lot of space. The more waste we put in our waste bin, the more land we need to bury it in. And all of this waste doesn't just simply disappear when we bury it in the ground. Most of our waste stays with us for an extremely long time. Some of it will never break down. Burying all of our waste into landfills is unsustainable. We need to work towards creating a more sustainable future by rethinking the way we manage our waste, or Australia will end up covered in our waste.
To fix this problem, I need your help. But don't worry, it's easy. Let's start at the beginning with the letter A. A stands for avoidance.
Avoidance is all about rethinking. Look at what you want to buy and ask yourself, do I really need it? Can I use something I already own that will do the same thing? Or can I borrow it from someone else?
We can help create a sustainable future by avoiding waste in the first place, especially waste that has to be placed in the red lidded waste bin and sent to landfill.
Plastic straws are a good example of how we can avoid waste. Did you know that in Australia we use millions of straws every day? We use them once and not for very long, and then we throw them away, some in the bin and some end up in the environment where they can cause some serious harm to our wildlife. And I'm sure we could think of a much better cup to use so we can avoid so many styrofoam cups in the waste, in our landfill and in our environment.
So you start with A for avoidance. Then you can also help by trying the 3 R's. That's reduce, reuse and recycle.
Sometimes it's hard to avoid waste. Packaging can help keep some of our food safe and help store it longer. But we can still help by reducing the amount of packaging we buy. Let's have a look in your lunchbox and see what we can reduce. This sandwich doesn't have to be wrapped in plastic that you use once and then throw into the waste. You could put it in a reusable container to keep it safe and then wash the container and use it again. Someone has done a great job cutting up this fruit for you to eat, but that little plastic bag is going to go straight in the waste bin. You could put it in a reusable container to keep it safe and then wash the container and use it again. And what about those little treats in your lunchbox? Those little plastic packets are going to end up in the waste bin. If you had one box of treats, You could put a little handful in a reusable container, and then there would be no plastic packet to put in the waste bin, and you would be helping to reduce the waste you make.
Think about how you could buy less waste the next time you're at the supermarket. If you have to buy some packaging with your food, then think about buying items that have reusable or recyclable packaging to reduce waste even more.
That's right. Reusing means finding another use for things, so we don't have to throw them in the bin. Keep a lookout when you're buying things, and wherever possible, choose the packaging that can be reused.
Recycling is one of the easiest ways for you to help the environment. This is when items are collected, sorted and returned to a manufacturer to be melted down and either made into the same item again or another product. When you recycle, you're helping to close the loop.
Closing the loop on recycling helps us to achieve a sustainable future for our planet. Let me explain. These plastic bottles are made from oil, coal and natural gas. All these ingredients or natural resources are taken out of the earth, and one day we will run out. Did you know these natural resources have taken millions of years to form, and they were once trees and plants eaten by dinosaurs? Once taken from the earth, these natural resources are used to make plastic, which is then shaped into these plastic bottles that we buy to drink from. After you've finished drinking the contents, you can put the plastic bottle in your recycle bin. Your recycle bin is then emptied, and the recycling is taken to the materials recovery facility to be sorted, so that your plastic bottle can be sent to the plastic manufacturers for reprocessing into more plastic items. Your plastic bottle could be recycled and used to create plastic clothing like this hat. That saves us from having to take more natural resources from the earth to make new plastic.
So putting things in the recycle bin is really important. But how do you know what things can go in your recycling bin?
Let's have a look at some easy rules of recycling. Rule 1. Paper and cardboard, including milk and juice cartons. Clean and empty of food and drink. Rule 2. Glass bottles and jars. Empty of food and drink. No other glass items. Rule 3. Aluminium and steel. Cans and aerosols. Empty of food, drink or other contents. No other metal items. Some problem waste like batteries can be dropped for recycling at council community recycling centres or other places like Aldi or Battery World. Rule 4. Plastic bottles and containers. Empty of food, drink or other contents. No soft plastics. Please don't put recycling inside a plastic bag. Rule 5. Remember, there are people just like you and me who sort our recycling, so stick to the simple rules of recycling and you will help make their workplace and our environment a much better place.
Another great way to reduce the amount of waste you send to landfill is to rescue your food scraps and garden waste. Some communities are lucky enough to have a lime green lidded bin that they can place all their food scraps and garden waste in to be collected and turned into compost. Another great way to rescue your food scraps and garden waste is to start a compost bin or a worm farm at school or at home. Worms and other compost critters work hard to turn your food scraps and garden waste into wonderful compost or worm castings that you can use on your vegetable garden. This helps both your garden and you to grow strong and healthy.
But what can one child do?
Our planet is going to be in big trouble if we don't do something about waste. But you kids can save it. I know you can.
That's right. You can help save our planet. Every action you take, big or small, is going to help make our planet a cleaner and healthier place for everyone.
If we're careful to try to avoid, reduce, reuse and recycle, then we will reduce the amount of waste going to landfill and help build a sustainable future.